Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another Writer Wednesday. My goodness, we went on a little bit of a hiatus last week, and my post that was letting you know that I was going to kind of lay low last week did not go out, so sorry about that. We are back this week, and this week we are kind of taking a quick look at ways that authors can actually make a difference in this world. Obviously, you guys have heard all the crazy stuff that's going on. What is up with 2020, guys? Like, seriously, there is like some craziness happening in our world right now. I don't think anybody really expected quite as much insanity to be happening in 2020. I know I certainly didn't. My goodness. Okay, so when it comes to making a difference in the world, I don't want to just mean coronavirus, and I don't want to just mean the Black Lives Matter situation and everything that's been brewing there. It's everything, guys. It is really honestly everything. And all of it is so important because it helps us as a society to be able to take a closer look at the way that we're operating and find the ways that we have been, I guess, dealing with life in a way that is not quite just and not quite up to our standards anymore. You know what I mean? We're raising a generation of people who have been, put in the mindset of Buffy, of Harry Potter, of the Hunger Games, and then we see injustice in the world and we expect people not to rise up. So I think this is a lot of ways, it's a fantastic thing that's happening, not because of the riots, not because people getting hurt, but because it's forcing us to take a closer look at ourselves and take a closer look at the way we actually want our world to be. Now, there's a couple of ways that authors can make a difference, and being in the middle of central Minnesota in a predominantly white area that doesn't have a whole lot of protests and things like that. We have small ones sometimes in the middle of Brainerd, but not a whole lot here. And so there's not a whole lot I can participate in, even if I want to. So things like the Black Lives Matter protests. I couldn't go down there if I even wanted to. I mean, I probably could drive down to the Twin Cities, but guys, that's like the epicenter, and I'm not going down there with my kids, okay? Just saying. But, oh, hey, David, good to see you. Yes. Giving 2020 a vision, it definitely does matter. And trying to give it a better prospect of what it's going to be like, right, is what matters. And so as authors, we have a couple of ways that we can really make a difference in the world. And you can see that in the titles that I was just listing out. Buffy, I mean, I know it's a show, but it was still written first. The Hunger Games, the Harry Potter novels, all of these things are putting people in a mindset to think differently. And maybe they didn't think differently before they read them. And so the point of being an author sometimes is really putting a voice to the injustices that we see in the world. And I think that's why the dystopian category was so hot for, well, it probably still is, to be perfectly honest, but it really lit up. I'd say probably about a decade and a half, 2 decades ago, where everything got really crazy and people really were just devouring the dystopian stuff because no one was really talking about how our world was dystopian. And so it was a way to kind of ease society into the belief that we can make a difference, we can change this. It doesn't have to stay this way. And so I've been thinking a lot about, what can I personally do to help with all of these movements, whether it be the Black Lives Matter, whether it be the whole environmental movement, because that's something that's also near and dear to my heart, whether it be the LGBT community and the Pride Month this month. There's so many ways to be able to just be inclusive because, guys, we live in a beautiful, beautiful world, and our diversity, our differences are what make it beautiful. And the sooner that we can start to see that and work through that, the better off humanity as a whole is going to be. But until then, sometimes people will lean to the artists, and we are those people. So we have to be thinking about, sometimes consciously, sometimes not, but how we can deliver those messages into our stories, into the characters that we write. So that's one of the biggest ways that we can make a huge impact on society as a whole, is by thinking about What kind of characters do we need? What kind of diversity do we want to bring into our worlds and into the way that we write things? It doesn't mean that you always have to have your main character be someone that's completely different than you are, especially if it's going to come up as inauthentic. If you can't put that voice to it, if you can't step into those shoes, have those supporting characters. Bring in those people that have disabilities or who have issues or who have different skin color than you do. Make sure that they're all represented. Make sure that different voices and different thoughts are represented, because sometimes as an author, that's part of the fun. We get to explore new perspectives and new ideas and the way that people live. And I don't know about you, but that's something that I've always been fascinated with. I remember when I was really young and we were on the bus, my brother and I would look out the window and we're passing all the houses, and I would think about, what is it like to live in those houses? What is it like to be those people being in those houses? What are they thinking? Where do they work? What do they do? And it's such a fun concept and such a mind game to be able to go through and think about what are those things that they would be dealing with. And as authors, we're doing that all the time, right? Because we're not, even though our characters are a little piece of us every time we write, it's only a little piece. They have their own unique personalities and their own unique quirks and their own unique things. Sometimes we give them to the characters, and sometimes they just arrive. Sometimes characters come with their quirks. And so it's important, though, to go through that process and to really think about what ways these people can be fleshed out so that it is more inclusive into the world. Okay? So as authors, I want you guys to be thinking about that. And I want you really to be going into, I don't know, I guess a brainstorm mode on how you can be more deliberate and more conscious about the way you write your books. I know I plan to be. I have many characters that are of different races, of different colors, of different sexual orientations. But I want to be more inclusive yet, because I want to make sure that the worlds that I'm building are just as unique, just as beautiful, just as diverse as our actual world is. And so that's something that I've been really giving a lot of thought to, whether it be where I'm at right now with the Windhaven books, or if it's going to be more with the Oracle books as I move on, because there are a couple of characters who are going to be shifting from that book or from that series over to the Oracle series. And so it's something that I'm kind of toying with, things that I'm playing with, and I want you to be thinking about as well. Now, there are two other ways that I do talk about in the podcast about how we can be the change we want to see in the world. One is obviously being vocal. When you see injustices in the world, speak up about them. Think about them. Think before you speak, however. So make sure that you're doing this out of kindness, not out of knee-jerk reaction or needing to be right or feeling like you need to put another person down. Always think about those aspects of joy. Like, is this going to be helpful? Is it kind? And make sure that they are coming from that place. So even if the other person takes it maybe wrong, maybe they misunderstand you, maybe they just can't hear you at all, at least you know you were coming from a place of peace and a place of joy rather than a place of animosity or antagonism. And just kind of go forward with that. I remember being younger and always thinking I needed to like stand up for the little guy. And I remember when there was, I think chat rooms were like a really big deal when I was younger. And so chat rooms, you see the little guy being picked on. It's like, you have to make sure that you're standing up for those people and you need to be heard. But now it's like, guys, people are going to hear what they're going to want to hear. And our job really is just to be the sounding board for justice, to be the sounding board for diversity, for peace, for beauty. And sometimes it can actually come in the form of showing how ugly our lives can be when we are being mean to each other, when we're being brutal to each other. I know there are a lot of books out there that do that, and they do it very well, where they show us the craziness by taking off our mask and showing us just how harsh we can actually be to each other. And sometimes that jolt of shock is almost what we need as well. But just think about that. Think about how you can be vocal. Think about how you can put your books together in a way that is more inclusive. And then obviously, when you have a chance, when you have an opportunity, donate. Donate to the causes that are near and dear to your heart, whether it be with money or with time, because obviously sometimes you have more of one or the other. And just make sure that those causes are supported so that they're able to thrive and to do better. Like, for instance, this year, my big one is with the American Cancer Society. I have lost a lot of people. I have friends who are fighting cancer right now, and I lost my brother in 2016 to brain cancer. And so for me, I am donating 50% of my royalties from Secret Legacy to the American Cancer Society. And that's something I was doing way before any of this came about, or any of the concepts of this actual day came about. But you can do the same. If Black Lives Matter is a big deal to you, start finding causes and donate to those causes to make sure that they are supported. If the LGBT community is important to you, find those causes. If just making sure kids are being represented, or kids with disabilities. I mean, there's so many options out there, guys. Just find a cause you support and donate something to it, because every little thing, whether it's 5 minutes of your time or $5, it helps, and it makes a difference in the world, and it makes the world just a little bit better. All right. So that is my 2 cents for this week. I want you to be thinking about all of that and think about how you can be the change that you want to see in this world. All right. Until next week, we're going to be talking about covers again. I will actually go back to books. Yes. This has been a heavy kind of couple of weeks after everything. So, I am going to be going back to covers, and we will talk about why covers matter, even if you are rapid releasing a series, but all together. So, all right, guys. Hope you have a great week. Make sure you get some writing done today. Talk to you later. Bye for now.